Welcome back to the K-Cup. I'm your host, Joe Nortrup, and I'm here again today with John Kelly, the CEO and founder of Kelly Construction Group. We got a great episode 4 for you today. We're going to discuss design build as a project delivery method. So there's countless points that we could use to make our case why we think design build is a superior way to deliver a project for an owner. But we're just going to touch on 3 points today that we think will easily make our case as to why it is such a great way to collaborate with other industry professionals and deliver a superior project to owners and investors. So John, like I said, we're going to dive in here and talk about 3 points of design build and why it's such a great way to build a project. But I know that you have some feelings about design build yourself that you might want to share with us before we get started on these 3 points.
Yeah, the thing that I really like about design build is it builds a team effort. It builds a team in the beginning. You have a group of people working together to accomplish the goal. I know team is big here in our office. We really emphasize that a lot.
Yep.
And that's why we really lean into this method, because you build a team in the beginning to accomplish the goal. Another thing that it really does, it allows you to see who you could potentially be working with prior to really moving very deep into this project at all. It gives you a feel for, the client. It gives you a feel for the design team. And it's a good opportunity to just kind of recognize, hey, these guys are going to be great to work with. They really fit the bill for who I'm looking for to build my project. Or maybe they don't. And that's a great perk right there in the beginning. If you find a contractor or some design professional that you don't feel like you jive with, then you've already realized that in the beginning of the project before you were already potentially thousands of dollars in. So that's huge. And then the other side is once you do have that team built and you've identified some people that you can work with, now you really have all the pieces you need to make this project very successful. So that's why I really enjoy this process and really like the design build method of construction. And for us, what that looks like, to be clear, is typically we would meet with a client. They would come into our office. We would start to understand what they want, understand what they need for a project, and then we would put all the pieces together to meet that need. We would bring in an architect engineer. We would bring in our subs. Any pieces that we have that can be valuable to putting together a successful design, we would bring all those in at the beginning and work towards meeting that owner or client's need. So that's why I really like the design build process.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great point that you make, is that you kind of get a chance to, vet all the players, so to speak, before you're in too deep. And I don't think enough thought is given to projects in that regard ahead of time. I think a lot of, different players might rush into these things and not realize that once that project starts, you're married to that person or that entity for, 6 months, a year, whatever the duration is of the project. So with design build, you do get an opportunity to really have some great conversations and really get a feel for each other and make sure that you're going to be able to collaborate, and it's not going to be, one of these situations where you just can't seem to get things worked out with each other. So great process there. So let's get into these 3 points. The first one I wanted to talk about was the fact that design build can really streamline timelines. It's able to do that because a lot of things can happen simultaneously or concurrently. So maybe you can get into that a little bit and tell us, how that can happen.
Yeah, so I think, the way it can really impact duration, first of all, it can actually shorten the design period, because once you're collaborating and working together with an architect or engineer and an owner, and you're all sitting at the same table, you're only working off of specific details that are needed. If this is a bid process, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into specifications, huge bidding or drawing packages that, tons of details so that everybody's bidding off of the same exact scope. Everybody's working off the same exact deal. And there's just a lot of work that goes into creating one of those bid packages. You know, in the design build method, when you're working together as a team, everybody knows the expectation. It allows you to really minimize. You hate to say minimize, but basically it helps you make a smaller package, a smaller drawing package, a smaller spec book. So therefore, it shortens the design period, which means we can go to construction a lot quicker.
Yes.
The other thing is you can actually start to do some work on a project during the design period.
Yes.
And that's not possible in a bidding project. Everything has to be complete, and then everybody bids, and you start the work.
Yeah.
And potentially don't start the work because maybe the budget's too much, and you have to kind of reevaluate.
See that happen a lot.
Yeah. So what that looks like is, and we just recently done this on a project where, we come in, we identified the demolition phase of the project. We actually did a demolition package. We submitted it to permitting while we're still continuing on the architectural and the MEP.
Yeah.
We're able to go in and demo this spot, demo everything out, get it ready for the next phase while design is still going on.
Yeah.
You can actually do that for the civil package. There's different layers where you can do this kind of thing. It allows for the project to start before the architectural plans or before the construction plans are 100% complete.
Yes.
So anytime you can get in there and do some work while some other things are going on, it's basically like overlapping some subs during construction.
Yes.
It allows for the project to happen a little bit quicker. So I think that's two major ways that design build really lends itself to shorten the duration of a project.
Yeah. So just to reiterate or kind of shine a light a little further on those two items. So you're saying that with design build, you're able to have the architect and the contractor kind of working side by side, and things can be happening simultaneously. Whereas with the traditional method, those two entities are usually stacked end for end. All the design is done, and then the contractor comes along, parks his bus right here, and you're segmented. You're not really working together. And then on top of that, the owner is insulated, through the architect. So you're not having direct collaboration with the owner either. But with the design build, what you're saying is that you have the owner there, the design team is there, we're there. You're able to start to, estimate and figure out all the nuts and bolts of the project to affect design and minimize design in a lot of ways, because like you're saying, they don't have to cover, dot every I and cross every T before it even goes out to bid, because it's not going out to 20, 30 different contractors. You're already in the same room and working together as a collaborative team. The other thing I got from that is that, and feel free to jump in if I'm not completely correct, but you're able to start putting a budget together. So instead of like the traditional bid process where you're having to, do a line item estimate of a project, which is very lengthy, very detailed, you're able to kind of, hewn out this big block of budget to work with. You can get on the same page with the owner about what their budget is, and then that budget can really inform the design and the processes and how the job unfolds. So totally different approach, but it sounds to me like with the design build approach, it seems to me like it would be more realistic based in reality, like actual costs and all that. Is that accurate to say that?
Yeah, definitely. Just trying to think of a good analogy here to make this work. But I mean, it's almost like, the architect is the quarterback, and as a contractor, you're the receiver, but you've never seen the play. You know what I mean? You're expected to go out there and perform at a high level, but you don't even know the play because you haven't been involved from the beginning.
Yeah.
So if in that design build process, you've been working the whole time together, there's no surprise.
Yeah. No audibles being called.
That's right. Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. Huh. Cool. All right. So in that way, just to recap, that's what can streamline the process. Is that everybody is collaborating together from the beginning and moving the ball forward, so to speak, from the outset. So getting back to the cost, then that's the second point I want to talk about, was how it's easier to manage and control cost throughout the length of a project with design build than it is a traditional method. Could you elaborate on that? Why that is?
Yeah. So I mean, I think the major difference between design build and the bid process is basically, from our standpoint, design build starts with a budget. It starts with a cost in mind.
Yes.
And then you work towards the design, and you work towards putting a project together that can meet the owner's budget.
Yeah.
In the bidding method, you know, that cost is not realized, or that budget is not realized to, you know, some months into the project. You already have a large portion of the design done. Mostly the design's complete.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get to the end, a lot of times that budget don't meet the need of the owner, or it exceeds their budget. That's a surprise that don't happen in design build.
Yeah.
You set that budget in the beginning, and you work off of that budget the whole time. Yeah. And that gives the owner or the end user some power. They can start to make decisions knowing what that number is. They're not waiting 3 or 4 months in
wondering
to figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's one part that's huge. And, you know, we are able to build, you know, pretty accurate budgets based off of jobs that we have going, or jobs that we've recently completed. Mm-hmm. So it's not like we're out there throwing together a square foot number or just pulling these wild numbers out of the air.
Yeah.
Our budgets are pretty accurate.
Yes.
So that really empowers the owner, like I said, to be able to decide, hey, we're going to do this. Let's move forward, really get the ball rolling.
Yes. To
where, you know, in the bid process, you typically, they would hire an architect and go through all the, you know, the design and back and forth. And then if this project is over budget, then you got to figure it out. And now you're 3 or 4 months in,
yeah,
and you still don't even know,
back to the drawing board,
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're able to really put that cost in the beginning, and then bring our team together that we've already identified, that we're already working well together. Yeah. And let's build everything based on that budget. And then there's no surprises, and this thing goes right into construction at the end. Yeah. So that bringing that cost in the beginning, it really makes for a lot faster process, and then there's no surprise.
Yeah. So speaking of surprises, I wanted to talk a little bit on this point about change orders. We know that in a lot of the traditional project delivery methods, change orders can be a pain. Like they can be prolific because there's so many unknowns. Even though you got more detail in the plan set, ironically, there's more unknowns because of the lack of communication and lack of collaboration. So maybe you could give us a little explanation of how those two compare, like design build, and what may happen or may not happen with change orders compared to traditional methods.
Yeah, so I mean, I think change orders are sharply reduced in the design build process. I'm not going to say they're eliminated.
Yeah.
You always have, you know, owners who maybe want to add a little more to a project, or even potentially take a little bit away.
Yeah.
And then there's probably going to be some unknowns from time to time, but as I stated, it's going to be sharply reduced.
Yes.
You know, the other thing with change orders is, as contractors doing this every day, we kind of have an idea of where those change orders usually pop up, and we know the indicators that usually, you know, point to a change order. Exactly. So we're able to bring those items out early on in the design phase in our team building, you know, time frames, to try to eliminate those and point them out.
Yeah. And,
you know, make the architect aware, make the owner aware of those things. So that's another area that we're able to, you know, help eliminate some of those change orders. And then, just to your point, just everybody working together in the beginning, subs making suggestions, engineers making suggestions, just that whole team building process really eliminates a lot of things that, you know, could be changed.
Yeah.
And an example of that may be like equipment. Like, an engineer may provide, spec some equipment that there may be a better option out there, and they're just not aware of it. And we have a subcontractor sitting at the table that can say, we ordered this same system at a much better price.
Exactly.
And you identify that in the beginning. So now there's not a change to, in this case would likely be a reduction, which would be fine. But the idea is just, this is how some changes are eliminated.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are all great points. And like you said, having that budget worked out ahead of time is really what puts the owner in the driver's seat, because they know what they're working with, and they know they have realistic expectations, I guess. And just having that viewpoint could eliminate some change orders right there. So great points. All right. So the last point I wanted to talk about was, with some developments that are larger on a larger scale, or mixed use, where you got commercial retail mixed with multi-unit residential or whatever. What are the benefits, or what would be the benefits of having a design build team together working on a project like that, as opposed to the traditional bid method, where this big project goes out to a number of contractors, and then you've got a lot of unknowns going into this big complicated project?
So I think first of all, everything we've talked about applies to this point.
Yeah.
But it's just more magnified, right? Because it's a lot bigger project.
Sure.
So, you can really just, everything that we've talked about would be just much bigger. You could really shrink the duration of a project.
Yeah.
A huge project like this.
Yeah.
Or the more traditional way, you could really drag this thing out. Yeah. So everything we talked about already applies into this. It's just magnified a lot more, one direction or the other.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing, thinking about something like this, is for a developer or owner that has, a big development. And when I'm thinking big development, I'm thinking, some big, huge shopping center with a bunch of lease spots, or, maybe a mixed use space with some commercial type walk-in areas, restaurants, whatever.
Yeah.
But, I think the thing to really consider in this situation is bringing in one person. You have that one point of contact for everything.
Yeah.
And, from a developer, I would want that one company to do not only the shell space, not only the big overall picture. I would want that person doing every build out for every, space that I have available.
Yeah.
Any additional buildings on the site, just so that you have that one person that you're dealing with, or one person, one company that you're dealing with. And it just really simplifies what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
If as an owner or developer, you're building this big space, and you constantly have all these little companies or other companies calling you, wanting to lease your space, and you're dealing with different architects and different, construction companies, all these different type people working on your space. You never truly know really what's getting put into these buildings, into your space.
Yeah.
If you have a one-stop shop, somebody that's going to design it and build it, then you know what you're getting the entire time. Not to mention, there's not 10 spots that you're having to go back with different architects or different builders, iron out all the details, constantly going to, find plans and transfer to each other. You have one company taking care of all of that.
Yes.
Just really, really simplifies the process for big developers and owners.
Yeah. So, with all these 3 points that we've considered, and your overview that you gave us of the whole process of design build in comparison to traditional methods, I'm seeing 3 ways that you're saving the project owner a ton of money. One is in design, because you avoid the over design thing, and you're just designing what you need to build the project. 2 is you're able to value engineer things, which you touched on. You can see ahead, and even with some of your vendors, your subcontractors, they may be able to say, hey, this is the way to do this. You're going to save X amount of dollars, and it's actually a superior product. Things like that. And then 3rd is time. I mean, time is money, and if you're a commercial investor, that time is very important, and how quickly you get a project completed and start realizing an ROI, on your investment, that's important too. So it looks like there's just a lot of cost savings that can be had in addition to just the ease of mind for dealing with a collaborative team instead of having of these segmented groups that are can become adversarial, like you said, or have these points of contention come up between them simply because things just aren't being communicated as thoroughly as they would be with design build. So all great points. It definitely points to the superior nature of design build and why we want to be a part of those opportunities. And if you're a commercial investor and you're looking for a design build firm, we definitely are a general contractor that loves to collaborate and work in the team fashion instead of working as a lone ranger, and looking out for the whole, that which includes the owner. So any closing thoughts on design build?
Well, I think one thing as you're talking, I'm thinking about, I think people may be a little hesitant to buy into this because they feel like maybe with the bid process, maybe they get better pricing because
Yes.
you got a lot of people trying to
Great point.
get to the bottom of the be the low number.
Yeah.
But the time saving, the experience, all that really makes for a much better process. And at the end of the day, you get a lot better product.
That's right.
And I think that once you've done this a time or two, and we've seen this with architects, we've seen it with our subcontractors, it's really a good process. And so far, every time we've done this, everybody really likes this method and really leans into it after you've done it a time or two. So, I would just say, like, be open to the design build method. Like it's going to be, it's a little different, but it's going to be enjoyable. You're going to get the product that you want, and it's going to be a good process.
Yeah.
So don't just discount it, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yeah. Just because something's been being done one way primarily for a long time doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way.
Yeah, and we everybody wants the same thing. We all want the project to be in budget. We want it to move as fast as possible.
Yes.
So for us, for architects, for owners, for subs, it's a win. It's a win.
Absolutely.
So it's just like I said, don't discount it. Let's do a design build.
All right, sounds good. Well, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. We love design build, and we definitely would love to collaborate with you, whether you're an architect, engineer, commercial investor, commercial realtor. If you have a client that's a developer investor, and you're looking for a one-stop shop and somebody that wants to develop a long-term relationship, that's us. So thanks for tuning in. We're glad you came back to the K-Cup. We hope you come back again. See us real soon. We have a lot more in store for you as these episodes continue to grow and unfold with, building insights into our industry and in general that can help out any business owner or entrepreneur. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you would. You can find us at the K-Cup on YouTube and follow us on LinkedIn at Kelly Construction Group. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Cut.
Action.
We nailed it that time. You think you're good?
We got it.
All right.